Hey, George. Good
Moving
to have you
slow.
back.
Oh, I'm like kind of sort of back. I'm so I'm like fly on the wall.
Okay. We are live on YouTube. And next step is starting the webinar. Let's hear it.
All right. Hi, everybody. This is John.
Great, John.
Oh, now we can.
Now you say it.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. This is John. Welcome to Illustration Isolation. I am here with a cast of characters, Timmy Trebon, Cassandra Loomis Kim, Bill Cobe, the great George Pratt. I don't know if anybody's come in the room since we've been setting up. I think that is everybody that's here so far. I'm sure there'll be a few more that join us. Timmy, are we far enough?
Yeah,
along?
it's looking, you know what? It's looking like we're going to have a very busy night tonight. We got a lot of new attendees. So we're just going to give, I think we give it just one more minute or so.
Okay.
To let the room fill up. But in the meantime, I will say, I know a lot of you are probably showing up because it is the last day to enroll for the winter semester, our illustration mentorship program. If this is your first time joining us ever, you may not know this, but we also offer mentorship courses. So it's a much more intimate, much more immersive learning experience that puts you on a track for the industry. This is just something we do for fun on Thursdays. This is born of the coronavirus era. And we've just kept doing it because we enjoy it. So we're going to get started in just a second. I'm going to kick off the theme song.
Illustration, isolation, illustration, isolation.
All right. I'm going to grab the share here. At least I think I'm going to grab the share here, Timmy.
Almost. Let's wait for it. This is the illustration isolation post-credit video.
Not letting me grab the share.
Here, I'll
Maybe it's because I'm not the host anymore.
I am the host.
You're going to have to re-host me or co-host.
Yeah, let's give it a try now.
I told you, Timmy. It's
my
your want for control.
Yeah.
There we go.
It's a palette. I have a palette that cannot be satiated.
All right. Hi everybody. I'm John English. This is the visual arts passage drawing night, which we've referred to as illustration isolation, and it was born out of necessity. We have been drawing. We are over 100 episodes, somewhere between 100 and 105. We've done this on Thursday nights. I just can't believe we've done this over 100 times. So welcome. If you're new to us, we're going to do 3 poses tonight. And tonight our reference is coming from the Netflix series Ozark. The first 2 poses are 20 minutes poses. We'll be doing, the first one is Jason Bateman as Marty Bird. The second one, is my favorite character is Ruth, Julia Garner. And the third one is Darlene Snell. Very flattering shot of Lisa.
I love this picture. I can't wait.
It's brutal, but she's actually a very attractive individual. And then the last pose, the third pose, is a 40-minute pose, and you can either use this reference, or you can draw both of these characters or just one of them. Give you some options on the last pose. So welcome. If you are new and you haven't done this, we will be posting our drawings in between poses on Instagram to hashtag illustration isolation. So thank you very much for being here. And I think we're ready to go. So let's draw.
Yeah, I just dropped a link, the link that's on the screen. I just dropped that in the chat. That's where all the photos are. And if this is your first time drawing with us, I bet we've got a lot of new people here tonight because we got a bit of a bump in the numbers. Cannot recommend enough. Please draw with us. Don't just be a passenger. Draw and then share your work. It really is fun. So
I was pitching it hard in my classes recently, this
fun.
last week.
Good. I hope we have some Wrangling students here because of you, George.
Yeah.
I'm going to stop sharing and we can go. But I just wanted to, now that I can say Adam has joined us. Adam Gustafson has joined us. Great book illustrator. George Pratt, one of the most notable graphic novelists in the world. Eisner Award winning artist. Bill Coe, fantastic illustrator, comic artist, great teacher, teaches our sequential class with us in our mentorship program. Cassandra Loomis Kim, past student of ours who's developed a really interesting painting career. I love what she does. You'll have to, it's hard for me to explain it. She humanizes animals. I guess that's the right way of explanation in a beautiful form, and just does gorgeous paintings.
Thank you.
Please take a look at her work, and there might be a few others that join us. Time to draw.
All right. Yeah, it's time to draw. Only thing I will add is a few people are going to be coming in throughout the night. And one of the things I would say is you have the TV remote in your hand. So if you want to change the channel, if you want to hear a different conversation, or if you have a good question, please use the chat. We will often, we'll talk about our day-to-day lives and stuff going on and our thoughts on, we'll have deeper industry conversations. It's really, we leave it up to the audience. So please submit questions and we'll keep an eye on them.
What Timmy is suggesting there, that you can control the conversation. When we start talking about lawnmowers and our pets and what the weather is, if you want to rein us in, just ask us a question.
Other than that, though, we're going to talk about, our favorite episode of Ozark. I'm going to be like, who's watching Station 11?
I started it.
Oh, I love it.
Have you watched The Cleaning Lady?
I haven't seen it.
Not. Somebody just asked. We enroll semesterly, so every four times a year we enroll. One thing I'll add is this is always fun. Use the chat. Be sure to select everybody and not message host and panelists. Tell us two things: where you're tuning in from, and if this is your first time joining us. I'm going to check out The Cleaning Lady, George. It's on my list.
It's pretty intense. It's really good.
Oh yeah, I was wondering about that one.
There's only 2 episodes right now.
Has anybody watched Peacemaker yet?
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so over the top.
Oh my gosh, I've been laughing so hard.
And it's funny. Like, I really like the intro they do with everybody dancing.
Oh, George, I think the intro for that show is genius. It is so good.
It's so funny. And I heard John Cena showed up and he thought oh, it's a choreography day. And he thought he was going to do fight choreography. He had no idea it was a dance intro. And when I watch that intro, it makes it funnier to me somehow.
Yeah.
And I gotta watch this. I was on the fence about it. So
I
really
think
fun.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Bill. That sounds like the recommendation I was waiting for.
Oh, we could have a peacemaker night. That would be really funny to draw.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
I
Oh
mean,
my
I love
God,
I
good.
love the preview of it where he's trying to get the shirt on and stuff, and he's
Cassandra, you know what would be awesome is the dance scene that he does in the apartment.
Yes.
He is so ripped. It is crazy.
I mean, even his character doesn't eat carbs. Have you noticed that? Like,
Yeah.
Well, he's so ripped, it's almost, he's like a cartoon almost,
yeah,
It almost doesn't look real.
that's
Hey,
got to be
George,
really hard to
we lost
maintain.
your George. We lost your camera. I think it
Really?
turned off. Yeah, it looks like. Well, yeah, it looks like it did.
All right, hang on. Let's see how to. Oh, I see. I see what's going on. Hang on. There, I got it.
no.
Yeah.
Well, one camera,
Oh.
the other one.
We just
Well,
want
yeah.
one up.
I'm only doing the one.
Oh,
Sparing your eyes.
that's much appreciated.
Okay, let's do a quick round the room here. Cassandra, what are you working in tonight?
Oh, I pulled the walnut ink back out.
Uh-oh. Okay.
The what ink?
I made some walnut ink.
Oh,
Oh.
cool.
Oh, wow.
You're more ambitious than I am. If I can't buy it at an art supply store, I'm not using it.
When I was younger, I think I would have done that.
Well, like, so I don't get to work every day because I have young kids, and so days I don't work, I'm always trying to come up with things to be entertained with the kids and I. So we had a day where we made ink. So
Nice. Have you seen that book on how to make inks?
yeah, so I made the ink first, and then Don recommended for me, so I got it for Christmas.
Yeah, it's a neat book. At least if it's the same one I'm thinking of. The
Yeah.
guy goes around and makes makes ink out of all kinds of stuff. And he's got all the recipes in there.
I'm excited to try some more, some other colors.
I picked up some inks from this company called the Birmingham Ink Company,
Uh-huh.
and they're really cool. And they're all like kind of hand batch made. So I don't know if it's like,
Ooh.
it's pretty cool. And the packaging and everything they send it in is like they go all out. It's pretty cool.
Huh.
You call it
I can pull out.
Birmingham?
Let me pull out. I'll pull out one of the bottles. You can kind of look at it. Let's see.
Yeah, I want to check it out.
Sounds more like whiskey.
I know, it does, and it makes it seem even cooler that way.
It's
Here's,
nudge.
So they come in these things,
Uh-huh.
and
Oh,
pitted
wow.
nickel,
Oh, that
and
does
it's
look
like
nice.
really cool stuff.
All right, I'm gonna make a note of that. Birmingham.
Yeah.
Okay,
I wanna-
we've got a lot of questions piling up tonight, so we're gonna have to tackle a couple of them. Here's one for you, Cassandra.
Mhm.
How do you decide how your animals should be portrayed in your portraits? Do you just see a crocodile and think Elizabethan England attire 100%?
Yeah, sometimes, quite frankly, yeah. Other times I'll look at old portraits and be like, oh, you know what would be funny? Like I just finished a Tasmanian devil as Henry VIII, and I just thought like it's a pretty crazy animal that kind of matches the behavior of Henry VIII. So I thought it'd be a funny mashup.
That's
Nice.
And now here's a question from Ocean, illustration program student here.
Hey,
from
Ocean.
our Passage. Hey everyone, I've got a question that I know got covered earlier during the live drawing session this morning. But do you think nowadays that it is not necessary to go to art school to be successful in the industry? Why or why not? I have my own opinions about it because I have my own opinions about it because I never have been to art school proper, but I'd like to hear more about your thoughts on that.
Well, you have a really varied crowd because we have people that teach in different art schools that are in here. George teaches at Ringling College of Art and Design. Obviously, I made my own program. George has taught with me for last 16 years together, George.
More than that, it's like 16, 17, 18, like 19.
Wow.
Because I'm 16 years here in Ringling.
Oh, wow.
And we were 3 or 4 before that, right?
Yep. There's opportunity in a lot of different directions. There's opportunities that didn't exist when George and I went to school.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of customizing the education, but I'm a big fan of education. One of the things that it's not just art you're going to school for. It's that wealth of knowledge, that well that we build to develop ourselves, be able to solve problems and concepts and narrate, do all that stuff, how the world works, the liberal arts courses, the literature and history that you study. I think that has just as much value to an artist, especially an illustrator, a narrative painter. I think there's places now, like what we do, our mentorship program, that you get real focus on the art side. Opportunity, like if you can go to Ringling, it's different. It's a BFA, it's a 4-year program. It's a huge commitment, but if you can do it, you have the opportunity to do it, more power to you. It's a good thing. There's great information there. Our program is
a
really
huge privilege, I would say, to be able to afford something like that, Yeah.
Yeah.
In our program, our goal in our program is to help people develop career. And a lot of our students have been to art and design school, and they're trying to figure out the industry. They're trying to develop themselves for industry. George, maybe your opinion on education right now, art education, you're in a different place than I am. I mean, I think I know.
Well,
it's
it's like having taught with John, and I used to have there were some people that were like, oh man, it was like a badge of honor not to have gone to an art school. And I did go to an art school. I went to Pratt Institute, no relation, but it was, I wouldn't give it up, what I got, but I was also, a lot of what I learned on my own, because I was really hungry and I pushed all my teachers, and I was out beyond even the school, like going out and doing stuff. And I think that, there's aspects of that education that I got that I wouldn't give up for the world, but there was also aspects of it where I'm really angry about some of it. And I think I really think it's, wherever you go, ultimately what you get out of it is what you put into it. But like John said, there's an aspect of what John has been doing, and that it just revel in, because these are people that make their living putting food on the table doing this. And that's huge, because you want real skills that have been in the marketplace. And then the aspect that he was talking about with art school is, the liberal arts and all that does help make you a more well-rounded individual. So it's like there's different aspects to it that ultimately it really falls on you about what you're going to get out of any of these programs, ultimately, like how hard you're going to push yourself and where you're going to take it, so I don't know if that's helpful.
Does anyone else have I think it's healthy to see the different angles, because it's good to have, a pretty balanced.
One thing is not right for everybody. I'll tell you that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then because of, being able to deliver online, be able to embrace education in a little bit more, with more options now, that I think it's really important that somebody can design and kind of customize an education for themselves. And
Now, sorry.
that didn't exist when George and I were in school. You didn't have the
Well,
opportunity.
The only thing I would say that I think you really can't ignore is if you don't come from a place of tremendous financial privilege or have access to scholarships, you should be extremely careful in this decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it could be a life altering decision that can really affect the trajectory of what you're able to do long term.
You've got to be super serious about it. There's a lot of people in the Ringling program that I wonder why they're there, because you've got to be really serious.
It's really tricky, George. I was very much a lost person at that age, and so I sympathized with that. And it's not surprising to me that schools are not full of people like that. What is concerning is you do the math on how much money they're
it's insane.
they're spending at that time, and it's pretty scary.
Well, the thing, Timmy, I think that's really well said, and I think that George and I have had this conversation a lot about the artists that we're around, that the people I know that work in the industry, they're curious, they're continuous learners, they keep developing themselves, they keep learning, and I think that's that interest in any subject. As an illustrator,
that was a huge thing, John, when I came on at the Academy, and was like a real eye opener, and so exciting was, here's, your dad and Gary Kelly and Chris Payne and these people were not resting on their laurels. They were excited by anything new that charged their batteries. And that was like, wow, that was so great to see, because, if anybody could rest on their laurels, it was those guys, Anita and all these people. It was like, man, but they were just like so welcoming and so excited about anything new. That was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I think about it, I'm thinking about most of my opinions that are kind of, I would say, let's call them anti-traditional higher education art school. They're really for if you have to pay the full ticket price. If you have access to a scholarship, I cannot imagine a bad reason to put yourself in a position where you're going to have access to incredible resources in an environment where, you're surrounded with what you want to do. But if you're like 80% sure you want to be an illustrator and you're going to have to pay the full ticket price for a school, you're making a choice that, you're going to be paying off for the next, 20 some years, 30 years, the rest of your life in a lot of cases. The other thing though that I would say is like, it is valuable, but I think the myth is, and this is what I often heard when I was considering schools, was you got to go to school because you'll be part of it's really all about the experience, and it's about the friendships you make. And I think that is just I just don't buy it. It shouldn't. You can't charge that ticket price and that be the product. The experience.
Well, the other thing to add to that, Timmy, is art school experience is very different than just like a traditional, like a liberal arts program.
Sure.
It's a very different experience. A lot of the major schools, Ringling, has a campus, and it has a sense of community to it. A lot of the big art schools don't. They just, they're in a big city, and their campus is spread out all over the city. And it's not a real, like what my parents would say was a college experience. It's a different thing. And, so, if that's what you're looking for, be really careful what you choose.
You're paying a lot for like a theme park experience. It's like going to Disneyland.
I do think it's very personality based. Like I really did well. Like I went to VCU, so I had like a university experience, and I was exposed to a lot of different, like, because we're close to medical school, there was medical illustration and there was interesting opportunities that would pop up at VCU. But I don't think I would have known how to do it on my own without it. Granted, we didn't have anything like visual passage, but I found it very helpful for me personally. But I also think that was because that's what I thrived under, and I was hungry, like George was saying, and so I looked for every opportunity and took it.
Yeah, but
And I
also went to the Illustration Academy.
Yeah, well, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't have known about the Illustration Academy if I hadn't been at VCU at the time, you know?
Yeah, Cassandra, we were talking about this earlier this morning, and I think one of the things that we were talking about was these institutions have great, many of them, some of them have many fantastic resources and amazing tools. But like you just kind of said, like when you were in school, like there weren't things like visual arts passage. I'm not going to make this just, there weren't things like schoolism. There weren't things like smart school, you know,
Nomad or
Nomad,
any of the others.
CGMA. And the truth is those things exist now. And when you're looking for education, I think it's worth noting, like those are part of the marketplace. And
Right.
and if you look at those price tags at those places, I mean, if you go to, I'm really not just trying to be a VAP cheerleader right now. If you go to schoolism, you go to any of those places, you're going to see some incredible resources, and the price, the marketplace has changed, and schools have not adjusted to that. And some of
And I
them
will say
can't.
it was
Some of
cheaper for
them
me
have
to
an
go to school when I
infrastructure.
did.
Some of them have an infrastructure that can't adjust to that. You know, campuses complicate that in a big way. So sorry to talk so much, but
Well,
thought
I
that-
went, I actually went for a year to a university, and then did nothing but, liberal arts, the academic stuff. So when I got to art school, I got to just focus on my art because I transferred all my credits over, and I just got to steep myself in art, and that was a major bonus. It wasn't like planned. That was a total. It just happened that way because I didn't know I was going to go to art school. That it came up while I was in university, but my dad was sort of like, hey, I'll help you do this, but you got to make that choice. If that's and luckily I made that choice. I did the right thing for myself and did it, but it was great in the sense that I was, I had seen the art, the typical college experience, and I had a lot of fun, but I can't say I learned a whole lot. And then I got to art school, and all of a sudden I was where I really needed to be. But that said, I was telling my students this week, the personal computer hadn't been invented yet, and there was no internet, no cell phones. And so it was all, print and just traditional work. And you had to get down and dirty and really figure this stuff out, and there were aspects of my school where I was at Pratt when I went that I'm still angry about, because I switched into fine art and that was like a joke, it was a ripoff.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
switched out of illustration, and that was a total ripoff. And I'm still angry about that, but the illustration department was like awesome. They were teaching skills, so for what it's worth.
Well,
Cassandra,
the other thing, George, that you and I have talked about a lot, and that's the quality of the liberal arts components with the art schools.
Yeah.
A lot of the major art schools have really, very expensive classes, but they're charging on their liberal arts classes the same they are as their art classes, and they're not worth it. Where you can replace those classes in an associate's degree or at a junior college
Yeah.
for less than a 10th, not even a 10th, a 20th of the price.
Yeah,
For
that's what, John, that's what we were talking about, where we're like, why would one history class at an elite school, private school, cost more than a history class at your community college? Like, do they got like secret history? Cassandra, I cut you off. Sorry about that. I get fired up when I talk about this topic. So
Oh no.
what were you saying? Sorry.
Oh, like it's hard to say now with what college is for everybody else, but when I went there weren't the opportunities. So for me, college was the right path. And going to art school at a university, there was other options because I was worried, what if I wasn't gonna be able to cut it in art? But I really like
we talked about that a lot when we saw your work when you came into the academy.
No.
Sick burn.
Okay, I love this topic. I think we've got a big crowd tonight. We've got a lot of questions stacking up. So does anybody have anything groundbreaking about what we just talked about that maybe we didn't say?
I do.
Yeah.
Welcome, Montalvo. I just saw you down there at the bottom. Montalvo.
Yeah, me too.
Hey, Montalvo.
Our friend
Hey,
from
How you
Sao
doing?
Paulo, Brazil.
Hey,
The
thank you.
man-
great.
I got a little
man,
late
the
here,
myth.
so you were all fired up in this conversation. I just didn't want to interrupt you.
You were getting worked up. Okay. I've got a couple questions that have stacked up. I'm gonna try and see where they've gotten buried. Sorry about this. There was a watercolor question here that was great. Let me see if I can grab it. Sally was asking about watercolor paper earlier. Many say only 100% cotton. What about what about watercolor brands and brushes?
I
George.
love Arch's cold press.
Arch's cold press.
That's
Yeah,
my
that's-
favorite.
How
Yeah,
about
I
you,
like
Frank?
all the stuff,
Fabriano
yeah.
hot press.
Sorry,
You
you
fa-
had a couple people talking over each other. What was
Oh.
that, Bill?
I said I like the Fabriano hot press.
Now have you found, actually, I was going to say something about the Fabriano soft press, which is this really interesting, almost like linen-like texture to it, which regular Fabriano cold press used to be. And then a couple years ago, they like discontinued the paper that, John Singer Sargent used to use.
Arch.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, if you want me to get worked up about something, well, I felt betrayed by that one. But
Why would you do that?
I know
Is that in the estate saying no one can use my
apparently something happened. There was like a changing of the generations at the company,
Oh, well, yeah.
and the newer generation was like, "Why are we still operating this mill from the 1400s? We've got a building from the 70s we can use."
Because they're dumb.
Ouch.
Yeah,
That's
but
like
I recently did a book on the arches on the Fabriano hot press, and they changed the sizing. A lot of companies have been doing this now to sort of like because paper is traditionally sized with gelatin, and that's not good for vegans to paint on. Like seriously, that's what's at issue. And so they've been experimenting in these like very unpublicized ways with like what they put in their paper. And what I found the Fabriano hot press did on this entire book was it had this very specific warp that if the paper ran across, it was like these waves that ran vertically. And like it was this very predictable warp pattern that it developed that no amount of stretching or taping down or anything could avoid.
Huh.
And it had never done that for me before.
See, I
But
use-
Well, that
this
was like the
one
old days.
batch all did that.
That was the old days working on the Strathmore plate Bristol. I would buy cases of this stuff, to use for the graphic novels. And every once in a while I'd get a case, a whole case that when I put water on it, when I started working, it would bubble
Oh,
all over the place. And it
Yes,
was just
that
like,
actually.
yeah. And it was like,
I'm glad
okay,
you said it because that just. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they started selling the 500 2-ply in pads now, like 11x17, which is great for a lot of the work I do. And I have an entire pad that's been bubbling. Like
Yeah.
the plies just come apart when you wet it.
Oh, wow.
yeah. And it's weird because it does come in like batches like that. It's strange.
And and I'll suffer through it, but I always feel bad when I recommend something to a student and they like scrimp together and they buy the good paper that I've been trying to convince them to do, and then it bubbles on them.
Yeah.
And I feel like a crooked spokesman for the man.
Hey, so on the topic of the man, I'm here to tell you guys that we got to move on to the next image. We're ready for image 2.
Well, I'm
So
drawing him. So
as the panelists slowly move on to image 2, now is the time for audience members to put your pencils and pens and brushes down. And
What's image 2?
Wait, George. Please be sure to snap a photo of your artwork, post it to Instagram. One of the coolest things about tonight is we are going to open up Instagram at the end of the night. We're going to look at everybody's art. We're going to scroll through it. It's really incredible. You're going to get to see a ton of work. But it's important you do hashtag illustration isolation and @Visual Arts Passage on Instagram. Also, you got to have a public account, and it won't work as a story. So you got to put it on you got to commit it to your grid. So
I want to see everybody's drawings though before they go.
John, did you know that we were drawing Justin Bateman?
Thank you, George. Great to have you here.
All right.
John's doing a self-portrait right now. Cut him some slack.
I'm drawing
right.
Dale.
So we're moving on to image 2, everybody. So if you are going to share it, and I highly recommend you do, please don't wait. Because if you wait till the end, there's always a crowd of people that are like, oh, I didn't have enough time to post.
Okay, George, I want to see your Justin Bateman. Where are you?
Hang on.
It is kind of a Justin Thoreau meets Jason Bateman.
It's going to be weird because I get the flat.
What did I say, Justin? Jason Bateman.
Oh, I said Justin Bateman too.
Yeah, I'm drawing Jason Bateman.
Jason?
I think you're drawing his sister. What was her name?
Justine Bateman.
Justine Bateman.
Justine Bateman. Yeah,
right. Yeah, I think I was apparently drawing was it Leary, Dennis Leary?
Dennis
I don't
Leary.
know how that happened.
I thought you were drawing Kevin Bacon.
Yeah.
What's the second image?
I thought it was a young Timothy
it's
Leary.
Ruth.
Oh, with the backlit?
All right. I think we've got enough of what image is next. What?
Okay, here
I think everybody's heard enough of it.
you can see it on my camera.
Yeah, exactly.
Always look.
I
If you're ever in doubt, look at John's screen. All right.
I think
Okay.
I think it looks like Jason Bateman, George. God damn it. Now you're messing
I'm just
with me.
razzing you.
Okay. We're gonna move on to another question. And I'm gonna tell you right now, with how many people are here tonight, if you really want your question answered, put it in the Q&A. Don't put it in the chat. What is the weirdest, most memorable art project you have ever done, personal or professional?
Wow.
Mine weird.
A bit.
Yeah,
I did once have a woman.
Here, wait, Adam's got something.
Go ahead. Adam.
Okay. I had a woman once, hope she's not listening to this because the job fell apart, but she contacted me to say that God had led her to me. And the reasoning was she had this manuscript that she had been praying to find. She was going to self-publish and she has been praying to find the right artist. And she walked by a newsstand and there was a magazine cover I had done facing out, which is already weird because I at the time that was the only magazine cover I had done, I think ever. And so she looked me up and saw that I lived in New Jersey and she lived in New Jersey. And I was going, okay, well, let's see where this goes. And she had this book that was about a woman. It was about a cat lady who lost a cat and then was trying to find the missing cat. So she had 48 cats in her house. And when they came back at night, there were only 47. She noticed. Now, here's the thing. The house I grew up in had a cat lady across the street. That was the exact number of cats the Board of Health cleaned out.
Wow.
Oh,
Even down to the missing one. The Board of Health cleaned out 47 cats, and then one cat turned up dead under my parents' porch.
Huh.
And
Yeah.
then I sort of felt, then I felt like, all right, well, I have to do this. Clearly, God put us together.
I'd
And,
say
and
that
turn
meets
on
the
her
criteria. You've met the criteria of the question.
But eventually, actually, the job fell apart. But I did a bunch of the work for it anyway because I actually really liked her story, and I completely rebuilt my portfolio out of it and changed all the work I got from that point on. That I'd been doing very earnest, like, unfunny, very sweet, but earnest, like third grade type reading books. And after that one, I started getting like much quirkier titles to illustrate.
That's amazing.
That's cool. That story had like a nice ending too.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to go.
See that some of my
blaming you.
Yeah.
I was going to say, see that some of my stories actually end. No.
That's the first one though.
I know.
You set an incredible reputation. Anybody else? It doesn't have to be weird, but maybe interesting.
Okay, I got the oddest one. Sometimes, being related to my father, he would get a very strange project that he didn't want to do, and he would pass it along to me and say, "Hey, do you want to do this?" He had a good friend of his that I knew. He was probably 10 years older than my dad. This was like 30 years ago. And he did this to me as a joke, to put me on edge. But this guy that we played tennis with a lot, and his wife that I had met many times, she was probably 70 at this point, came to my father and said, "I really want you to do a nude of my wife," who was 70 plus years old at the time. And so my dad thought it would be real funny to pass that project along to me. And
Dad.
it was maybe the most awkward conversation I've ever had with anybody about doing a piece of artwork. I eventually did not do it, but I mean, I just couldn't do it. But it would have been a very awkward thing for me to do that project, but even more awkward that my dad set me up that way to do it.
Here's another question. Any art mediums you guys dislike the most?
I only learned to paint in acrylic so I could teach it.
Well, sorry, it got jumbled. We had some chatting over each other.
Oh, sorry. Mine's a quick one. I was going to say I only learned how to paint in acrylic so I could teach people how to do it. Because I personally avoid it like the plague. I'm bringing that one up because it's
to people that can do watercolor. It's my enemy. I don't like watercolor, but George and others prove me wrong all the time. What a great medium it is.
Watercolors are for professionals.
I know that.
It's funny. Like, I thought if I learned watercolor that it would teach me how to oil paint, which is really stupid, right? Because it's totally different. But I thought if I really got good at watercolor, the oil paint would be a snap. Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
I was going to say, how'd that work out for you?
No, it didn't work out at all.
Hey everybody. So I'm going to sign off soon. A couple of things I just want to remind everybody is if you have a question, please submit it to the Q&A. That's going to really help field these questions tonight. 2, it is the last night to save your spot with Visual Arts Passage with our art mentorships. They kick off this weekend. So if you are interested, please go check it out on our website. I'll drop the link in the chat. Other than that, some notes for our panelists. Be careful not to talk over talk over each other, and we'll be set tonight.
Sorry.
No, Adam, it's not you. It's Zoom. It's okay. And I'll leave everybody with a question from Dali. Do you feel like the art industry makes artists develop a mentality that they are not good enough and pit them against each other? And if so, have you guys had any moments where you weren't treated well in this, I guess, in that kind of regard, I guess? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's a hard question.
When I started out, I mean, I really got treated poorly in it, but I can't actually.
That's probably healthy. You can't remember.
Well, I can't authentically convey what happened because I have to use cuss words because that's what they used, and it was like startling and hateful. And,
that's too bad.
Yeah, and it was like it was kind of a wake up call. Like, oh man, like.
George, I'm really sorry. I never apologized for that. I'm really.
Yeah. So as I am leaving, I am going to remind everybody, if you do have questions about the mentorship classes, like what you learn, why mentorship is important, things like that. This is a great night to ask. So other than that, I'll see you all this weekend, John.
Thanks, Timmy. Appreciate it. I'm sure we'll
Thanks,
talk
Timmy.
tomorrow.
Take care.
Thanks, Timmy. I've never had any that, say, pitted artists against each other, but I have had some that situations where I could have been treated nicer.
Yeah.
And in that case, I wouldn't say any names, but
Yeah.
there were times where like I was like art directed, into the ground for like a solid year, and it's like years later realized that the art director in charge of the project just sort of viscerally disliked me, and I think was trying to get rid of me, and I just sort of took it as like I must be that terrible if we're into this many revisions. But I found out actually from my agent that this person actually really doesn't like me.
Aw.
Well, that's pretty unprofessional on their part.
Yeah.
Right.
All of mine was self-induced, so that's all I can say.
I had one project that was like serious back and forth in the same way where the person and honestly, and they were going through their own, stuff, which, I get, but everything was just a struggle back and forth. And it just turned into it was just a job that should have been a dream job. And it just was like just a challenge every step of the way and just took any joy out of it.
Well, that's the absolute worst when you take a project because this just seems like the greatest thing ever, and it just turns out to be really disappointing.
Yeah,
It's happened to me on a couple of occasions.
Oh yeah, I've had those.
More than a couple for me.
But but real honestly, I think of all the art direction and art directors I've worked for, and I think I got some really positive feedback and some great additional advice that made the work stronger, made the work better. I've had a great experience with art directors, and everybody has clashes every once in a while, has their problems, but I think generally, it's been a really good experience. I don't really, I had a portfolio review with an art director from Boys Life magazine when I was like 22 years old, and the guy just tore me apart. And my goal was to work for him someday. It could never sway the guy, change his mind. But he treated me like he compared me to other people that, at 22 years old, I wasn't ready to be compared to. I was just a student still. And that was the only really bad experience I had. Most everything was good and positive. Most people in the industry, I think, are really good people.
Yeah, mine was that Goalpost magazine, the Christian magazine. That guy was so mean, like seriously mean. And I remember walking out of there going, "Oh man, that's the Christian magazine. I'm in big trouble."
Man, I just screwed up my drawing laughing. Put a big gouge through her eye. That's good. I like that.
Yeah, it was no fun, man. I was just like, whoa.
I had a bad experience when I went to see the art director at Stanford Medicine, and years ago, and I was really excited to see him. I loved the art they used.
Bill, can you talk a little louder? You're kind of quiet.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you better.
Okay, so I was probably about 21, 22 years old, and I went to see the art director at Stanford Medicine magazine. And everything was going fine until he came upon one of my illustrations that was a kind of a pro-liberal point of view. And then he just started attacking me, like, for my politics, because he was ultra conservative. And I couldn't get out of there fast enough, you know. I had actually driven down to Palo Alto to his house. I don't even remember his name, you know, it was so long ago. But that's about the worst experience. And it had nothing at all to do with, you know, the work or anything else. It was just political point of view, you know.
And somebody has another question. What was it like when you guys first started out in the art industry?
Hard.
Bill,
Hard.
Bill. the story
Actually,
you
part of it was
just told-
so nice that I thought it would. Sorry,
No,
go on.
no,
Who is that?
Didn't mean to interrupt. I was just saying that the story Bill just told, it looks like so much 2021 to me.
Mhm.
It looks like
Yeah.
it happened just last week.
Oh yeah. I mean, you know, it was just like, okay, one, I'm never going to get any work from this guy, so that's done. And two, I'm, you know, maybe I'll never get any illustration work. But, you know,
Yeah, I really struggled to try and get work as an illustrator, but my work was so loose that no one was interested. And so what bailed me out was doing gallery work, which I just lucked into, and then was able to get work after that.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realize you started with gallery work.
Yeah, I really, and you know, and trying to get illustration work, and they just, no one, the only one that was doing really the loose work was Skip Lipke, and who was like, you know, one of my heroes at the time, and but no one was buying, you know, and so, but it was Lipke and Kobayashi that got me into the gallery in the first place, because I went to see them because of their work. And then from there, I went into the graphic novel stuff. And then I started getting illustration work after that.
Yeah, I think when I started out, it was actually, the industry was actually so, it was so nice to me that I thought I was like, man, this is going to be pretty easy. It was like, you know, I'd send out my portfolio and someone would give me a personal call back to tell me like why why it was okay, and, you know, what I could do. And, you know, someone would call and say, you know, like give me a book that they kind of didn't know what to do with when I wasn't really ready to illustrate something like that yet, just to sort of give me a chance. And I you know, after 2 or 3 years, I was like, man, I think I've made it. And
That's cool.
Incidentally, I still haven't. So
How many books do you have out?
I do have over 30.
Okay, so
Wow.
I think you've made it.
You made it.
I think
Right.
you can
Like-
officially say that you're a professional illustrator.
Yeah, Adam, I think you've arrived.
Right.
You're just thinking, you're just still thinking it's got to be more to it than this, right?
Right. that you're right. That's what it's like. Wait, no, don't tell me I've made it. I don't want to know.
This is it.
This is it.
Well,
That
there is
was-
to it.
That was El Coro when he came to Ringling once. He was like, telling everybody, he's man, I really wanted to do, the Viz Dev and all that stuff. And he goes, and I'm sitting in my chair and I'm like, man, I'm living my dream. And he goes, then about a week later, it's like, oh man, I'm living my dream.
Yeah.
Hey, George, somebody was asking the question of what did you mean by your work was too loose?
I wasn't detailed at all. I was like really into Sargent and Lipke and Homer and all this stuff. And that was not illustration at the time. I mean, and even now, I mean, people liked really detailed, tight rendered stuff. And I never was that. I was a Jeff Jones clone, and that's where I wanted to go, and that just was not what was, that's not what was for dinner, So, yeah, that was not in the marketplace that anybody wanted.
George, would you say that your work wasn't beyond that? I mean, do you think that there was because your work to me is much more representational and figurative than it is conceptual.
Oh yeah, well, I was definitely not a conceptual illustrator by a long
and that
shot.
was kind of king when you started,
Well, yeah, Brad Holland, but man, the thing about, and I was a Holland junkie. I loved it because I loved the way he painted. I loved his color and his textures and all that stuff. And the ideas I thought were brilliant, but that wasn't what I was into. But I loved the way he painted. So I was more into the paint.
Right.
It was much more about a dialogue with the medium than trying to be, fancy with ideas. That wasn't me.
Right. Because I think that afflicted a lot of us who didn't really excel at the beginning at doing conceptual work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very lucky that I got picked up in that, that people in children's books thought, hey, we should give him some work because I had that same affliction when it came to editorial by a long shot. Like people would say conceptual and I was like going, I'm not sure what that means when you say it.
Right.
Yeah.
Which was a good sign that I didn't know how to do it.
Yeah. I mean, because I could deal with emotional content and sort of expressing it through emotion, but not necessarily through high concept.
Yeah, exactly. That was the thing.
Yeah.
Well, on the other side of that, I was much more of a one-trick pony, and it worked for me really well. I got a lot of really good work for it, but I could only do very limited things, and it just happened to be really popular at the time, and so it allowed me to, get started fast and make a living.
Well, yeah, but you had like a serious, handle on your how to nail likenesses and manipulate your medium in a really beautiful way. I mean,
Yes.
yeah, that's a big difference.
Wow.
Plus, you had a lot of. I mean, I think you had a better understanding of the industry than most people when they start out.
I would hope so.
I would like to hope so too.
Yeah.
Not John, your father failed you.
He never did.
No, I didn't think so. So,
Somebody asked, have you ever had a student that was too stubborn about learning or feedback? How have you dealt with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you'd enjoy that.
Yeah.
That goes without saying.
No, I've never encountered that.
Wait,
They're all
are
the
these
perfect
students?
angels.
Hey, George and I can name a couple of really well-known illustrators that were really stubborn students of ours.
Actually, I probably was in retrospect. I didn't even think I was, but when I think back on me, I go, wow, did I do anything anyone asked me to do?
I mean, I'm referring to Francis Vallejo right now. Man, he was, you couldn't get him to look past Norman Rockwell or Repin. And he stayed true to his guns for a long time. And then he explored as much or more than anybody, once he figured out there's more to it than this.
Well, the thing about Francis was he was so into everything. It was like he wasn't discerning, he loved everything, which is, it's not a bad thing, but it was like, it was kind of, I felt like it was kind of getting in his way.
Yeah, but he'd fight you on it too. And you couldn't make him look left or right a lot of times. I mean, I remember him showing my Bay Area figurative painter book with Ebenkorn and Oliveira and all my favorite artists in there. And he just looked at it and was like, I don't get it. These people can't draw and paint. And I was just like, okay, there you go.
Seeing that book in the summer of '96 completely changed my life trajectory.
It did mine.
I couldn't cross the street after that without looking at a telephone pole and wires and going, it's a Diebenkorn.
Yeah. Oliveira is the one that nailed me, man. I was just looking through that thing. I was just like, oh my God, but it was like something I really had to sort of grow into. It was not like love at first sight.
Right.
Right.
Now,
actually, the one artist that I was looking at a lot before I saw that book was Joan Brown, and
Parks.
Yeah, and I love the still life work that she did. And then I saw her connected. I realized she was married to Theopolis, and gosh, I mean, it just opened my world to opened my eyes to a whole nother world that I wasn't.
Well, another person like that for me was Fritz Scholder,
Yeah. I'd seen a lot of his work earlier. And,
Who was the artist you said?
Fritz Scholder.
Yeah.
Shoulder.
A Native American painter.
Really good.
He owed a lot to Oliveira, big time.
Well, he kind of reappropriated all of that in the Western.
Yeah.
So here's an Oliveira. Go to my camera. This is from the book.
Can you move it closer to the camera, Bill?
Yeah, that thing is killer.
Yeah, that's
a giant painting too. It's like, it's 9 feet tall.
Well, they had in a Manhattan gallery on 57th Street, some of his monotypes were huge, like 6-foot monotypes. They were insane.
Oh yeah. Do you know what though? I saw some of his monotypes that were tiny. That were incredible. Like he used his thumbprint to make a face in it, and it just
cool.
looked like he made about 3 marks.
Yeah.
But this is the book, in case anybody's wondering.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But
there's
a Bruce
you definitely got to grow into it. It's not, at least for me, I really had to grow up.
George,
yeah, I think if I'd found it while I was in school, I don't know that I would have known what to do with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I would have gotten defensive.
Yeah.
The most obvious way that experience happened to me was watching my father grow. And I about the time that I was starting out making my livelihood as an artist, as an illustrator, he was doing a lot of very representational painting, figurative work, a lot of nudes, a lot of just figurative painting, and he did it so beautifully. And I love the way he had great deft with material, sensitive, great drawing. And I loved watching him doing it and learning from him. And then all of a sudden, he just went a completely different direction that I couldn't understand. And he was interpreting what we're talking about right now. He was changing teams or changing influences.
Well, the thing about your dad, to me too, was always the experimentation, and then just his, he could pick up anything, and he would make it come alive. And his dialogue with media was just friggin' unbelievable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Fred.
It was about the paint,
Yeah, Fred Otten is standing behind me watching my dad work one day. He kind of whispered into my ear and he goes, "Your dad makes me sick." He said he can't make an ugly mark if he wanted to.
Yeah.
And he really did have a great, and the person he thought that did that better than anybody was Bernie Fuchs. And he
I really like Fuchs, but man, your dad to me was so much more interesting because Fuchs got to where it was like, for me, and it's always beautiful, don't get me wrong, but it was so formulaic, to me.
Yeah, but he was so good at it. That was the thing.
Yeah, he was unbelievable at it, but your dad was a whole different animal. Your dad's stuff, he was never satisfied. He never
was always
sat
reinventing
still.
himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. But you imagine being a young artist and trying to interpret somebody that's like, you're trying to learn what he's doing at the highest level. You're trying to figure it out and you're struggling with it. He did it with such ease and grace. And then he's just like, I'm not interested in that anymore. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm killing myself to try to figure this out. And you want to do that? And it's like, I don't get it. And years later, I figured it out. But
I kind of had a similar experience with that because, I had Baron on one side who was very detail oriented and process oriented. And then there was Diebenkorn. And I loved Diebenkorn, but it was so much of a different thing. And then I found out later that Baron was a big fan of Diebenkorn as well. And
Baron's a big fan of everybody. I was, discovered that, George, you were with me that night, and Baron started talking about Bernie. And I thought, oh yeah, is he going to have like an appreciation towards Bernie? Man, that guy knew titles of his work. He knew everything about him. That's when he got up and stood up and he said, you know what Bernie brought to illustration? Walks across the restaurant and makes this really interesting, like very candid pose. And
he looks behind himself.
Yeah. And he said, that's what Bernie brought. The ability to use candid photography in illustration. And I thought, man, that's really observant.
Huh.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to move on to the third pose?
I think we are, but we got 40 minutes on that. Yeah, we should move. Yeah.
And then there's a whole bunch of questions.
Fire away.
Oh, good.
Okay. First one from Dali. Do you guys have the same art director?
No.
No.
We've
probably worked with some of the same people, but not in any uniform way. Yeah.
So here's another question, though. It's like, I bet I worked for several hundred art directors in a period of about 20 years. And I worked for several, quite a few, multiple times. Kind of figured out when I kind of looked at, I always did like between 50 and 60 illustrations, printed assignments a year. And I would only work for the same art director maybe 2 or 3 times a year. So you work for all these different art directors. And I'm sure, George, you've had the same experience, and everybody else in the room. You're always chasing art directors.
I didn't work for that many art directors. I mean, the graphic novels, the comics, they didn't have art directors. You were working for editors, but and then because I just didn't do that much illustration, and so I can kind of count almost on 2 hands everybody I worked with.
Well, the other thing is too, you would do one book, and you would do, how many images would you do in a graphic novel? I mean,
it was like
you'd work on it forever. Yeah, right.
3 years work.
Yeah. Well, that's the difference. I would work on my assignments for a few days,
Yeah.
mostly editorial.
Okay, another question. Children's book question. I have a book inching closer to being done. I've written and illustrated it. I have several writing edits by master level writers and illustrators lined up to be reviewed. To those in the world, would you advise to try to go traditional publishing if I have a list of publishers to try, or to go to Amazon Kindle self-publishing route?
I'll always go traditional first.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work and you can't find anyone, you can always do it yourself. If you still believe in it by that point, if you need to. But for one thing, working for corporate money and a corporate marketing team is always, it's you can live indoors doing that. And it's much harder the other way. So if you can get a corporation to foot your bills, get a corporation to foot your bills. And if you can't, and you really believe in what you're doing, then yeah, you go ahead and self-publish, but try to get someone to pay you to do it first. Try to get someone else to print the book and give you an advance and sell it and get it in stores. Self-publishing it's one thing, it's very hard to get any sort of distribution on. I once did a book event and they accidentally grouped me in with the self-publishers. And as a result, the store did not stock my book and they put me in the basement of the building as like number 8 in a slot of other self-publishers. I sold one signed book. Yeah.
Oh.
But at least I got to feel really terrible about myself in the process. And I have had it is actually just in the last couple of years, it's gotten a lot easier to get your own things printed. There's really high quality print on demand services. So you don't even have to order 1,000 books yourself first. But even still, you're on your own to sell it to people who don't have your own last name.
Well, TikTok has been doing some crazy stuff with that. Have you any of y'all followed along on like TikTok kind of strands?
What was that?
Like TikTok, they've been kind of like getting books out there that are self-published that just by people on TikTok following along and getting like self-published books has been really interesting to watch. I don't know like how many books it works for, right, but I saw a couple just kind of blow up because of TikTok.
Wow. You have to be able to dance, or is that
right?
That was Ray Benia's in.
Yeah. Oh, it is. I'm glad you said that though, because that is another funny thing. Like I also know that I'm not the right kind of cool for that. TikTok is, I would fit in on TikTok, about the same way that I fit in my like high school lunchroom.
Oh no, I actually think you would do great. There's a really great artist community I'm finding, and there's a lot of fun, interesting stuff. I think your art actually would do really well.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I phrased it sort of the wrong way. Like for instance, in my high school lunchroom, I'm pretty sure I told really good jokes, just no one was sitting at my table to hear them at that moment. So it wasn't like so much that I don't have this like sixth sense of timing of reading that kind of room. Is just, which hopefully I'm wrong about that, but
you are.
Well, I would think that with 30 plus books published.
Yeah, I think you have some things figured out, dude.
Yeah, I think that market probably would be more drawn to you than someone who didn't have any books published. You just have to see it from the outside. Like you're more marketable because
could
of
be.
track record.
Looking at it from the outside, I'll admit, has never been my strength.
Yeah. Well, that's hard for a lot of people, you
Yeah.
know. I mean, I know I it's the whole imposter syndrome thing that people come up against.
Yeah.
But you just have to let go of your feelings about your work and understand that it, you know, it does have qualities, you know, and even if you can't see them. I mean, George, look, how many comic book pages that you've done that you still like that you could count?
Well, I don't know.
Dozen, 50?
I only kept four pages out of NMEA. So
Okay, so there's very few that you like look back, even on projects that you love doing, right?
yeah.
So, but you're not the best, you're not the market for your work, right? So,
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's one of those things like I have this discussion with Foster all the time. You know, it's like everybody tells me I have a style. I have absolutely no idea what that is, you know. So,
but like you're not the best judge of like the quality, like the sellability of your work in a way, because
yeah, based on how much of it sold, you're right.
You know, I heard this great quote from Michael Stipe in an interview once when, you know, he was asked about the question of, say, selling out, the idea of selling out. And he said, like, look, I wouldn't know a hit song if it fell in my lap. And I can say that honestly, because they have.
Well, that was it, you know, listening to Paul McCartney on that McCartney 321. And he said, you know, everybody says like we wrote all these memorable songs. He goes, they were memorable because not because we wanted them to be memorable, but because they had to be memorable because we had to be able to remember them.
Right.
Because they couldn't write music, you know, so
Right.
It had to be catchy and memorable in the sense that they could remember it to play it the next day.
Right.
But what a great, you know, insight into himself, you know.
Yeah.
that's funny.
That's great.
Okay, on the topic of students, what makes you think that a student will quote unquote make it into the industry? Is there a technical skill or something else entirely?
A whole bunch of stuff, you know. The technical ability is huge, but it's also, are they able to, you know, can they really say something with it? And do they have the drive that it's going to take to get through it?
Right.
It's not easy. Want is a big part of it.
You know, and there's that aspect too. It's like, you know, and you're going to see more and more of it as you go through the intestine that is the industry. Is like, you know, it's not how great you are. It's a lot of it is who you know, and like happenstance. You know, it's so strange. So
I disagree with that wholeheartedly.
do you?
I don't think it has anything to do with who you know. I think it's who you're aware of. But I don't think there's an art director that would hire you. I mean, how many art directors you know as friends that hire you? They hire you because of what you do, not because you're friends with them.
Yeah.
But I don't think who you know has, I think it's who you figure out that's doing all the work in the industry, as far as that's the knowledge part. But our industry, I think, is really, really honest in that, you know, you really can't, you know, art directors have budgets, they hire the best people to solve the problems for them. You know, it might be different in the comic world a little
yes
bit.
and no. I mean, you know, if you go out and start looking, there's a lot of really bad stuff out there too. So it's not like they're always picking the best person for the job. So something else is at work, you know, at times.
Well, that's maybe the art director just doesn't know it, you know.
Maybe.
That's part of it.
I think part of it is who knows your work too.
Yeah, but at the top end, I think the best people in the industry rise to the top. That's my theory anyway.
I'm going to say I think they're both true. Well, because and I'll say that just because I've gotten a lot of my sort of like pay the bills kinds of jobs or things that miraculously kept me busy, where I was hired, to do the thing that I do and be good at it, but it was someone that I only knew from some weird just being nice to people and not knowing who they were sort of way.
Right.
So like, a guy that I used to give art lessons with at this community art center, years later was the art director of this like Korean publishing company that hired me to do up 240 illustrations in a year.
Whoa.
And then 2 years later hired me to do 186 for another project. And again, I was like, I wouldn't have, I would not have suspected that, 5 years before that this guy was going to become an editor and an art director and assigning jobs. So it was, but it was a combination of the two. It was, it was who I knew, but in his case, it was like, it was convenient that he knew me too. Like he was like, oh God, who do I know that could do this and not screw it up? And, because he had had a bad experience prior to that. And I think he just went, Adam likes me. Adam's not going to make me look bad.
He likes me. Yeah.
Do you guys think that going to things like Icon make a difference? And going,
I think learning about the industry side is the obligation of every artist. You have to know if you haven't figured out that art directors run our industry, if they determine who gets hired, you better figure out who the art directors you want to work for are and make a body of work aimed at them, if that's really what you want to do. I think that's our obligation. George, I remember this conversation of Gary Kelly pointing out to a student that his work was indicative and similar to a particular artist. And the student kind of fought back and said, well, I know it's not true because I don't know who that artist is. And so Gary says, you're not winning the argument with that. He said it's your obligation to know who that artist is. That's right. That's part of being an artist, is to know what's going on around you. And he said, you haven't strengthened your argument by falling back on that.
Well, that's a discussion I had with my students this week at the beginning of classes, is that, when we sit around and talk like we're doing now, we threw out, who was it throughout the Bay Area painters, and everyone here knew who that was. And I tell the students, I'm like, this is, if you don't know that stuff, you're locked out of that conversation. You're just a fly on the wall, and you're not actually, participating at that point. And that is really part of that's like the coin of the realm. It's I don't forget the order, lingua franca lingua, of professionals, that when we talk about art, we compare it to things we know, and it helps us to understand the subtleties of what we're talking about. And that is part of the power that you actually can have and enabled in order to talk to art directors and other artists, and to know, to be on the same page. So you do have to educate yourself, because the art history teachers, they're not going to tell you that much about the illustration stuff, because they don't know it. They don't want to know it. And you've got to train yourself. It's on you.
Okay, why do you explain that a little bit, George? That's I know where you're going with it, but explain that to the audience about how illustration's perceived.
Yeah, it's ephemera, it's whatever. It's like, but they were taught, to get their masters, unless they went to an actual illustration master's program, they were taught, by art history people that are talking about art history, and it's going to be Michelangelo and it's going to be the medieval, and the Renaissance and blah, blah, blah. And they could really, my experience anyway has been they could care less about illustrators and Howard Pyle and Harvey Dunn and any of those people. And it was always like, oh, are you going to come? Would you come in and give a lecture on Harvey Dunn? And it's like, why are you asking me to do your job? And it is. It's like, so and I know a lot about Harvey Dunn because I love Harvey Dunn's work, and so I taught myself this stuff, and I know John knows all that, and Bill, we've all had these discussions, and it's on you. We learned it not because someone taught it to us. We learned it because we love it and have pursued it doggedly, over the years.
I'm laughing, George, that we stayed up one night, like all night, putting this list of artists together. And we got on this like continuous thought. And it's like one artist led to another artist. So,
just off the top of our heads.
Just on top of that, we wrote down like 500 artists' names, illustrators, painters. There was at least 500 between the two categories. And George went off. George really has an in-depth understanding of photographers too. And so the next day, we were so proud of ourselves. The next day, we're showing it at the Academy. We're showing this list we put together. And Brent looked at it and he said, well, okay, you guys ever heard of this guy named Van Gogh? Or we missed like some of the biggest names ever.
We missed like some of the most obvious stuff. We were like, oh my God.
We got on these really like deep dives into these tangents. It was funny.
It was awesome because we were just like, can't believe we didn't put that down.
I had that conversation with my painting students last night. I'm teaching this class at Durham Arts Council, and I'm asking who your favorite artist is. Name some favorites, name some people whose work you love, and only a few people raise their hands. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm confused because I know who inspires me and what inspires me to want to do this. And, I can easily rattle off 100 artists that I like for different reasons. And I'm like, why do you want to learn to paint? What is it? So I went around the room and, some of them like art, but they don't know artists. They don't study it. Some of them want to, express themselves in a different way. But it baffles me because I can't help but want to learn about new artists and different artists. They're not new, they're just new to me.
Mm-hmm.
Cassandra, can you see any more questions?
Oh yeah. What was the book on abstract painters again?
Oh, the Bay Area Figurative?
Bay Area Figurative Painters.
It's by Caroline Jones.
And then this is kind of a fun one. Do you guys, are you guys the only artist in your family, or does it run in the family?
John?
My father was a very, very well-known illustrator, great illustrator, great painter. And I figured out the smartest thing I ever figured out, and I don't have a long list of those things of showing intelligence. But the one thing I figured out when I was pretty young is I was never going to be the best artist in my own family. So the guy was just brilliant. And so that's my experience. I know there's others in the room. I think artists generally can almost always name somebody else another artist that influenced them or that encouraged them. So maybe
my uncle was a pastel and oil painter, but he was a lawyer, but he was really good. He had shows. When I was a kid, he would, during Christmas, they would come, or we were over there at their place, and New Year's, but he would sit around the fire with me and draw me Sherlock Holmes and stuff like that. And that was like magic to me, you know.
No, I should say my father had the guy that influenced him. My father had an older brother who was a really good artist. My Uncle Jack, which is my cousin Sally, who joins us to draw a lot, her father. And I know it influenced my father as a young, because they were about 8 years apart. And when my father saw what he was doing, he became interested in it. But the other side was how they became interested in it. I'm not, their father owned a grocery store. There was nothing before them that you can point to. So that's my experience.
Oh.
Yeah, my brothers and I just sort of drew like most people, other kids play baseball or, play catch or that's just how we played. Which my mom always drew, but it wasn't like a plaything for her. And my dad, I think, was just so fascinated that we were like that he would just, he worked down the street from Pearl Paint. And so on his way home, sometimes he would just stop by and, it was like if he came home with like a new kind of eraser or something like that, it was, that's what Christmas felt like.
That's cool.
But my mom always had these things. So like, I also grew up in a house where it was normal for my mom to like come down angry and be like, "Who took my needed eraser?"
That's funny. It's like your dad was like, "What's wrong with these people?"
Yeah. No, my dad actually, I think I learned what illustration was just because my dad would get stuck in traffic coming home, and then he'd come home and like commission me to do something ridiculous that he'd thought about on his long drive.
Oh, that's cool.
So he'd want like a concert poster of like an all slug punk band called the Slime Trails was the one.
It sounds like they were encouraging.
Oh yeah. It was just assumed that I was going to be, an artist. I think they were surprised that my brothers didn't both go that route too.
What'd your brothers end up becoming?
My older brother works in mental health, and my younger brother is like an all-round creative guy. Like right now he runs an online toy store. He worked as a proofreader for years, but we had been in a band together for like 15 years as well too. He's this amazing songwriter and singer and guitarist, and he does all the things I do, but he actually does them better in a very natural way. Like he just kind of picks things up, and he was given a sousaphone, I think, or a euphonium, a small sousaphone as a joke for Christmas one year. And he went, "Oh," and he picked it up and he just started playing Christmas carols on it.
That's great.
Like it didn't stump him at all.
Yeah, my great aunts on my mom's side and my grandmother on my dad's side, like they would do art as a hobby, but they would do like really impressive things. Like my great aunt, she would paint animals, and I remember she painted a little fawn in a field of flowers for me when I was a little girl, and like I still have that painting, and it made me like always wanting to learn how to paint. And my grandma could embroider anything. She did like leopards and all these really elaborate things that I still don't know how she did. But we were always like encouraged to be creative. So my oldest brother is a musician professionally, and then my other brother is a chef professionally. So we all kind of went into creative.
Oh, cool.
That's great.
Creative areas.
I have a chef in our family. My sister's married to a really great chef, and what a pleasure that is.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I remember that restaurant.
Oh yeah.
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 My brother actually beat Bobby Flay.
Oh.
With a stick.
Yeah, so that's like our fun claim to fame is he beat Bobby Flay.
I was gonna say, did he get in trouble for it?
Well, they kind of buried his episode for a bit because they beat him doing Eggs Benedict, and he was about to open a brunch restaurant. So like Food Network is like, we don't want to show this episode.
Wow.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild.
Sorry, I'm reading comments.
I think I saw what you were reading there.
Yeah. We had a request I answered, but I didn't answer aloud. Sorry. Just about, can we do some poses on another week that has just like some like dreadlocks or different kinds of hair and darker skin and stuff? And I was saying we definitely would, because
Yeah.
like all are welcome. If you have like, we love themes. If you have a theme you're thinking of, that would be great. We're all open to that.
What was the first part of the question again?
I'm trying to find the question she asked earlier.
We have had things like that, which were great. Different hairstyles and even dress styles,
Mhm.
Yeah,
all kinds of stuff.
we did Macbeth 2 weeks ago. It was fantastic. But we try to be inclusive and deal with different body types, different looks, everything.
Was that the Denzel Washington?
Yeah,
Yeah.
some
I
great.
haven't seen that yet. I want to see that. He's one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, I like him a lot too.
Yeah.
There was some great reference from it.
Well, I still want to do a Ruthie Carter night because I saw all of her costumes and they were amazing. So
Okay.
On the what?
Ruthie Carter, she did like a ton of costumes for Spike Lee movies, and then she did Black Panther and Coming to America too. Like at the Tubman Museum of Art in Roanoke, they have a show going on of like all of her costumes, of like looking at like, I think it was 15 different movies were included in the exhibit, and seeing the costumes in person was so fun.
Cool.
Cool.
You know what else would be great, or costume wise, or the Ico stuff from Dracula.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
We have to get Don and do a Dali night too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That would be fun. I was thinking about that the other day.
Big, pale blonde hair is a tough thing to paint.
Absolutely. Blonde hair in general.
Yeah, right.
First, when you said Dali, I thought you were talking about Salvador Dali.
Well, we've actually drawn Salvador Dali a couple of different times in Studio Bridge.
yeah.
Fun face to draw.
Yeah.
Juan Pablo, I barely said hi to you tonight. How are you doing, man? Is he still here?
I just got my microphone was muted.
Oh, how are you?
John? How are you?
It's funny, you got to turn those things on to make them work.
Yeah, that's how it works.
How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm in my last weeks at the company that I work on, Vector Zero. I'm just jumping to the fantastic world of freelancing back again.
Yeah.
And this time I'm trying to do something really, really different. I'm opening my Patreon on the end of February and trying to work this out. I don't know how this is going to work, but I've seen some people really, just making things happen with exclusive materials and videos and stuff and commissions. Let's see how it works that way. I hope it does.
I wish you all the luck doing that.
Thank you.
I hope you make $1 million the first week.
Me too. I'm ready for it. I don't know.
And then write a how-to.
Yeah,
And then show me how to do it when you're done.
Yeah. I just let me get to the first million and I'll tell you.
Montalvo, what are you opening?
My Patreon. It's
Cool.
it's like crowdfunding, but it's not for a single purpose, you put some interesting things behind a paywall, which can be like from $3 up to whatever. And I'm putting 7 different levels of interest. So people can just join with $3, $5, 15, 25, 50, 100, and 250. In each one, I'm giving some extra things that or commission works or opening things that are more interesting in each one. I don't know. There are some people really making some serious money over there, and some of them are just paying some bills. I'll be glad just if I can pay some bills. Not really aiming for big money there.
I've got it on Patreon, but I only have a few supporters right now. I'm actually about to send them out some copies of some books.
Yeah, it's all about creating a sense of community, and I'll have to start that from scratch. Actually, this is something that I never really tackled into. I've always worked for Brazilian market, and now I'm trying to get a little bit, pitch a little bit higher, so I can hopefully get to reach some clients outside Brazil.
That's exciting.
And
And there's gonna be, it doesn't work by itself. So I'll have to be working on Instagram. I think I told you back then when I was at the academy last time, John, that I wanted to make a YouTube channel in English. I don't think you remember that.
I do remember.
That's an old plan. It's something that I've been, cooking for a while now, and it's going to be launching by the end of January.
Awesome.
Yeah. And maybe if
when you get it up and running, come on here and we'll promote it.
Oh, that's so cool. Thank you. I think, the day that I'm going to really launch everything all together will be my birthday. It's February 26th. And that's when I'm going to do, like a marathon on Twitch, the 15-hour marathon and all this kind of stuff. It's going to be like an online party or something. And I'll be drawing and talking to people. And, this is going to be the day that I'm really going to, dive into this all together. If you can help me out, just spreading the word, I would be really, really happy and glad.
We'll show up here that week. We'll promote it.
Oh, so cool. Thank you. I will.
I'll promote it like I promote everybody. Hey, this is how it will go, Montalvo. Taught this guy everything he knows. Here we go.
You like my work, you'll like it.
I take credit for everything.
He's awesome, right? I did that.
Yeah, that's the real meaning of word trust, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what
I have
100%
trust with you. You're a very good artist, Montalvo.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, man. I'm really trusting on, quality and delivering things that people may be interested in. Not only art, but videos and tutorials and, making offs and things that happen behind the scenes, all this kind of things. I'm recording mostly everything that I'm doing. So I'm going to have some real interesting material on videos and stuff.
Cool. Well, you have plenty to teach people. I'll tell you that.
Oh, so cool.
Okay, let's see. What are some of your favorite hand and arm exercises to do after a long day of drawing? I ask because my wrist is beginning to act up.
Play guitar.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah, that's, those things where you kind of change gears and use a different set of the same muscles.
Yeah.
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 I am a firm believer of exercise.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I've been a jock my whole life and will never stop. So anything that relates, I do tons of push-ups and go to the gym, go through the routines of the weights, do all that stuff. That's and I think it's really helpful. I noticed one day when we were drawing James Bond, I did a right-handed drawing and then a left-handed drawing. And you forget, you draw with your right, your whatever your strong hand is. I drew with my right hand, then followed with my left hand. My left hand was so tired. My left arm, I was having to hold my arm up towards the end of the 20 minutes. And you don't realize, I draw vertically
Right.
large. You don't realize how much strength that it takes, to sit there and just, move your arms like that. But my left arm was struggling in a major way. I was like, what is going on here?
Believe it. Would you guys want to become an art director?
Want to what?
Would you want to
wanna
become an art
director?
Oh, become an art director? I don't think I would, but it's because I'm afraid of responsibility.
I can't even organize my own life. I wouldn't be a good art director.
I've for years, 27 years now, have been like working with some of the best artists in the industry, like teaching with me and organizing them. And I'll tell you what, not the easiest thing to do. You talk about herding cats sometimes. I'm not sure if I had to worry. The art directors I know, they're worried about production all the time. They're worried about, people showing up on time, getting, the work. There's a lot more to it than just choosing good artwork and designing pages. I'm afraid that the other part would get me. And truthfully, I think the best art directors are designers, good designers.
Tento montar anatomia em cima de sombra. Onde é que eu vejo a sombra construindo?
Montalvo, I can't understand what you're saying.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was
Is
just
that
talking-
Portuguese that you're speaking there?
Yeah. I had my mic open. I just
I know.
wanted to present you someone very special here tonight. Is probably gonna recognize this guy here. This is my son, Gabriel.
Hey, Gabrielle,
Aw.
how are you, man?
Welcome.
Hey,
Most important person in my life.
And well, it should be.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I have known your father since you've been around. Before you were around.
Yeah, even before he was.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Montalvo traveled from São Paulo, Brazil, 5 times? 4 times? 5 times?
Yeah, I was there 4 times. Yeah.
to come study at the Illustration Academy and then come teach with us before at the end. And Long will always be a friend of mine. He was just a marvelous human being, and I'd like to think that, and I'm going to say probably more my father than anybody that influenced what you're doing now.
That's, you got me speechless, John. That's not an easy thing to do. But I totally agree. It's just, it was such an incredible experience being there only 4 times. I wish I could have been there every year if I could. And you're absolutely right. Your father just influenced me in so many ways. He's here with me, in one sense. He's present in my thoughts and the things that I look at. He taught me something really, really interesting about the way I see the world, not the way I draw it, but how to interpret light and shadows and things, and synthesize images visually.
He was
And
a
such a
pretty
powerful-
amazing guy. It's funny when my dad would start demoing or drawing, like on our open drawing nights at the academy, about half the students would always get up and stand behind him and watch him draw.
Oh, yeah.
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 And then I've been going through like old photography from the academy, and you see like all the visiting artists, they're all standing behind him watching him draw.
Yeah.
It was quite a show. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Man, it was just
Yeah.
magical.
A lot of the lessons that we still teach, like, a big portion of what we deliver educationally comes from the way he thought and approached it, art himself. And a lot of those lessons come from him.
Yeah. I remember the first time I saw him, we were at that restaurant called the Fork and Spoon. And we were just back there. We just came from, the nearly 16-hour flight. And you guys asked me, you want to take a nap or just, relax from your trip? And I said, absolutely not. I want to get into, let's rock and roll. And we went to the restaurant, and I saw him coming, and, I wouldn't be so shaken if I would see Mick Jagger coming over. No,
Yeah.
Mick Jagger. Okay, Mick, I'll talk to you later. There's, the Mark English is there. Yeah. That's how, he meant so much to me. And I was really lucky to, after a few years, he was just talking to me as a friend and receiving me at his home, just like, hey, I'm so glad you're back. It's just hard to put in words, that kind of feeling.
He influenced a lot of people, a lot of artists. And, one of the most common thing that was said to me after he passed away, literally, when I say hundreds, it went over 1,000 messages of people reaching out to me, telling me stories about how they met him and what he meant to them. And the most common thing people said about him was he was the person that influenced them to be an artist.
Absolutely, yeah.
I said, that's exactly what he would want people to say about him.
I'm
Beautiful.
so glad to hear that. What an energy, coming over so many years, doing what he did, and, teaching the way he did, and putting people together, and you just, taking the path that he was just starting at the first meetings. How do you call that? The illustration
Workshop.
Yeah, the illustration workshop.
Mhm.
And, I remember seeing one of the advertising of the illustration workshop back in, early 80s, I think. And I said, man, it's just, these guys are together. I was just, Just wish I was there. And I was really young. It was just, working in advertising agencies and flipping through annuals, illustration annuals and stuff. And little did I know that, a few years later, I could have, just meet these guys and meet you, John. And that's, lots of memories. So cool. So incredibly cool. So glad.
Well, Montalvo, you get a kick out of this. If he were here right now watching me draw, I could hear him say, "What are you doing that for?"
Yeah, where do you go from here?
He would be constantly poking. He would be telling George to stop. You're overworking that, George. Stop. That's beautiful, George. Love it.
He was my Jiminy Cricket.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna tell everybody we should be done with this post, and you should post your work to Instagram now. And I'm gonna give you like a minute, and then I'm gonna start sharing the work that the people that posted tonight. So you'll see a bunch of drawings.
So how do we post to Instagram?
Hashtag illustration isolation.
Okay.
Let me just change the camera here. Can you do that? No, medium.
I'm gonna have to start watching this show just so this lady can frown at me more. I love this.
I know she's got a great frowny face. I feel like I didn't do it service. Yours looks really cool, Adam.
Oh, thanks. I've been having fun with it. Though I think does anyone else like make the face that you're trying to draw as you're drawing it?
Yeah.
Like I feel like I'm going to have to like do face calisthenics. My hand feels fine, but my face, I got like a Charlie horse in the corners of my mouth right now.
Cramps on the face.
Adam, somebody wants to know what medium you're using.
Yes. No, I'm using I used a colored pencil, watercolor, gouache, and pastel. Whatever was next to me, which is unlike me. Usually I just use like pencil and white gouache, but I was just grabbing things today. I was feeling very grabby today.
That's looking great, Bill. That's
Thank
just overall a beautiful piece.
Oh, cool.
Thank you. Wow, Adam,
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Very, very cool.
Oh, this is a nice night.
Yeah, there's good work in here. There was a lot of people here tonight.
Oh, Montalvo, that's really cool.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so I'm about to hit refresh. And as soon as I do that, I'm going to start sharing my screen and we'll start scrolling through these.
All right. Just one more here.
Here we go.
Wow.
All right. And I always
Look at that.
Oh, good job, Felicity.
killer Felicity.
Yeah.
And the multi-figure scene.
Very nice.
That's nice.
Good frown.
Yeah.
Some great stuff in here. Oh, nice. Very nice, Sienna.
Nice, Randy.
Pose was perfect for you, Randy.
Can you do the one to the left too? That looks
Devon's. I know it's Devon's. Beautiful.
Good job, Devin.
Wow.
Yeah.
He made walnut ink too, by the way.
Mm.
I'm very proud.
Very nice. Anybody that does both figures, I always pull up their work.
Oh, that's
Great.
And again, I don't click on
Oh,
everybody.
Felicity, that looks, or Felicity, Rebecca, that looks really good.
This is that color.
Very nice.
wow, yeah.
That's Felicity. That's Felicity. If you didn't catch on, if you're new here, that's Felicity's mom. Felicity's 10 years old. And I know that because she signed your work, Felicity 10, a lot.
Oh, that one looks great.
Ooh,
Wow.
Really nice.
Oof. Beautiful.
Those planes.
Check this out. Way to go,
Nice,
Julian.
Julian.
Wow.
Really nice.
Good piece, Julian.
Yeah.
These are all good. Sally, way to go.
Good job, Sally.
Very nice.
Okay.
That's fun.
Oh, that's cool.
Very delicate. We're gonna pull all of these up. Very nice.
That's fun, Jeff.
Check for
Nice
this
job, yeah.
You can just hit the arrow, I think, too, right? Or no?
I don't hit the arrows anymore.
No?
Now we've run into issues.
Really nice.
Some fun drawings here. Very nice.
Good job.
Look at
That
this.
one's great.
Dang, Gary.
Nice.
Gary. I've spent the afternoon hoping Gary's not mad at me for conversation Bill and I were having this morning.
Gary, your ears were burning yesterday because I was talking about your work in sketchbook class.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's really pretty.
Look at that thing. That's
Wow.
Gosh,
good.
you got the light amazing.
Damn.
Beautiful. Whoa.
Ooh,
So
Really
good.
good.
So good.
Yeah.
Very fun.
ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, that is nice. Nice attitude to it. Look at this.
Wow. Cheapers.
Doug Bell.
Doug.
Can you imagine
Doug,
Doug Bell
so
doing it?
good.
Neat.
Hope you're feeling better, Doug.
Well, Doug.
Yeah.
Is that like a second one or a first version
Yeah.
of
Looks great, Randy. Oh, I like that. Ocean, that looks really
Ocean.
cool.
Very nice, Ocean.
Yeah.
Good work.
I love the
This
margin there.
is really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like
Nice,
that one.
Karen. That's Felicity's grandma.
Wow.
Really?
3 generations.
Mm-hmm.
They're like the Wyeths.
Like the Wyatts.
Oh, that's my husband.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
He was drawing downstairs while he was watching the
You're,
girls.
you're married to a Corky?
Yeah, you know.
Oh, that's
Nice drawing, actually. I really liked it. This is nice too.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Wow. Tyler.
Very
Really cool.
nice.
That light.
Mhm.
That's my
Oh.
husband again.
Your husband
I can
did.
tell. I can see his picture.
I love his hatching.
Nice drawing.
That's a great one too.
Nice, Jeff. These are
Ooh,
interesting.
that's cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
Looks really
I
good.
like that one on the left too in that row. I just like the drawing in that. That's cool.
Burger
Mhm.
bites.
Yeah, that's fun.
Oh, good drawing.
Cheech
Mhm.
Wizard.
That's it.
That's really fun.
Yeah.
That's really fun.
Mhm.
Very good.
Oh, really nice.
Mhm.
Santa again. Good job.
Wow.
Got it. I just go across the whole row. Very nice. This is interesting. Ocean.
It's cool. I really like how you handled that. That was nice.
Again, if I don't hit yours, I apologize. I'm just trying to move through 'em.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's really nice. Really captured her there too.
Yeah, I love the subtlety of the hair.
Yeah. Yeah, and that reflected light coming in is
That's fun.
just
Mhm.
right. That's pretty too.
Oh, I gotta see this. That's fun.
So cool.
Very cool. To both figures, I gotta show it.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah, nice, Heather. No watercolor, Heather. What's going on? You okay? So it's always working in watercolor. Very good. All right. I did everything in black. Was that it? Did she have a green dress on?
Yeah.
It's like a green tank. Yeah.
I printed mine black and white. I didn't know.
Oh, that looks really cool.
Yeah, that is nice. Of course,
Really, really.
have to tell them it's backwards, but that's okay.
Got her to turn. Now that is some good model direction. That's
Yeah. Ooh, it's nice.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
Mm,
That's out there. That's really fun. though.
Cool.
that is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Pretty expressive.
Oh, I like that.
Ooh,
There's the watercolor.
I
Oh, that
really
is
like how you handled that a lot.
space.
That one's cool.
Yep.
Oh, nice, Leslie.
That's nice.
Everybody's doing great
Got the
stuff.
lights right on.
That's a really nice little painting.
Mhm. Oh,
Doug.
beautiful, Doug. Beautiful.
Ah,
What restraint?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doug's got
So
tremendous facility. This is Randy again, I'm sure. Wow.
So good.
Great.
Great job, Randy.
That is killer.
Nice,
Carl.
Crow.
Really well done.
cool. Oh, that's great.
I like it.
Mhm.
Nice, Sally.
Mhm.
I knew that was Sally's before you clicked on it. Oh, that's very nice.
Good job. This is nice too. Nice
It
job.
really is.
Wow. Oh. That's good drawing.
Oh, yeah.
It is, yeah.
It's really
Okay.
nice.
Love the change up of the mark making, the smudged and
Yeah.
different textures. Really well done. That's good too.
Yeah. It's really good.
Good, Jeff.
Yeah.
Is that a paper bag?
Is it?
Woo-hoo.
Yes.
Well
look,
done.
folds. That's great.
He's learned his material use from Cassandra.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Let's just find something to paint on. Oh, nice,
That's
Heather.
good.
That's good.
That's
Yeah.
really good.
Man, Heather, you've gotten so good. Very fun. This is AJ, I'm sure.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good job, AJ.
Yeah.
That's
Oh.
Nicole, I bet. Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice, Nicole.
Oh, I love that eye looking at us.
What attitude? That's fun.
Yeah.
We're getting towards the end, I think, because they're all
Oh, that's good.
very fun.
Nice.
I love how you handled the hair.
I like it. I like the drawing in this one. It's fun. Good, Jeff.
Jeff always does like 8 drawings a week. I'm always so impressed.
Is he the one that I always keep saying he's cheating because he uses a time machine?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, this is nice. I know that's
Oh, Doug, that's lovely.
That is nice.
So effective.
I gotta click on that.
Yeah.
I really like it.
I like
I
it.
really, really like it.
I don't think Jason would like it much, but I like it. It's kind of a cross between Bateman and Frankenstein. I'm not making fun of it. I just love the expressive quality
it's
of it.
combining the best attributes of both of them.
Yes, excellent line work after all.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's got like Blade Runner color to it.
Yeah.
I love that strong light behind him. It's nice.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Great color.
It's not a silhouette.
Nice.
Really nice.
Expressive.
That's yeah. Again, I think he did 8 drawings.
Yeah.
All right, Nicole. Good drawing, Jenna. All right. I think we've come to the end.
Oh, and I just see a little question in the bottom. I was just going to about doing a fourth. The third and fourth are a choice. Like we do 3, and you can choose between the last 2 drawings for your long one.
Now, I'm going to leave you on this one because.
Oh my gosh, I'm in love with that one, AJ. Oh,
that thing
that's so
awesome?
good.
Yeah.
George,
Yeah.
check that out.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Isn't
great.
that fun?
Crazy, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. I'm going to thank everybody in the room. Cassandra, Adam, Montalvo, George, Bill. Who am I missing? Have I missed Timmy, who was here earlier? I think I've gotten to everybody.
Mhm.
Really fun night. I hope you can join us next week. We'll be drawing again and probably getting ready to promote Montalvo's
Yes, right.
Patreon launch.
Patreon.
This Patreon. All right. Everybody have a
Yeah.
great night. Really fun. I am supposed to, Timmy did tell me to remind everybody our last day of enrollment with our mentorship program. Check it out if you're interested. Everybody have a great night. Thank you
Good
so
night,
much.
everyone.
Have a
Good
wonderful
night,
week.
everyone.